Last month, I spoke about what happened in my childhood, and I was in a very fragile state of mind. I just was not mentally there, and honestly, I just panicked and did not know what to do. I unintentionally weaponized my trauma. I used it as an excuse, and it masked over very important conversations that should have happened. What it was a missed opportunity for me to actually sit there and actually discuss about me engaging in race play when I was younger and actually taking responsibility for my actions, which is something that I did not do, but it's something that I'm going to do now. What I did was I shifted the blame of what happened in my childhood to my actions as an adult. And for me to put that narrative out there is something that is extremely dangerous and something that I will never forgive myself for doing. But I was just not in the right place of mind at all. Going through what I went through, it just made me very desperate, and I just wanted to remove myself from, these dangerous situations. And from people who I know and myself, being sexually abused at a very young age, it put me in a line to go into a form of sex work. And, due to the fact that I was overly sexualized at just a very young age. And then coming from the background and descent that I'm from, I then ended up being hyper fetishized by people around me. And that was how I began to engage in works of race play. Meeting these men, specifically when it comes to race play or the homophobic stuff, they would imply it and force it upon me. And, I engaged in it sometimes purely for the money that I would receive. Typically from people that I know of at the time, as well as myself, when you do not comply with these older men in these hotel rooms, you can put yourself in very dangerous situations like I did, and a lot of my boundaries were constantly pushed. And at times when I would say no to these specific stuff, I would receive a lot of sexual and physical violence. Me engaging in race play at a younger age, I didn't really understand the profound impacts and effects that it would have on me. But of course, recently I've had to check myself, which is why in the last 4 to 5 years I've been in therapy dealing with this on a private matter. And then coming from the culture that I'm from, it is extremely difficult for me to speak on sex and kink related stuff on a public sphere, as well as why I just didn't really have any support system at the time or anyone to go and confide in and help in. But by that, no means justifies any of my actions, because nothing can justify my actions. The crux of the issue is racial hypocrisy. The crux of the issue is me engaging in race play. Because I engaged in race play at a younger age, am I able to discuss and support minorities and racial equality on my platforms, or am I a hypocrite for doing so? As well as having conversations about me engaging in race play, am I aiding and abetting institutional forms of racism, or is it just a dark kink like many other dark kinks out there, such as somebody who might be a feminist who engages in misogyny related kinks behind closed doors? Me witnessing and experiencing racism growing up, but especially engaging in race play related stuff when I was around 19 at the time, are reasons for why I'm very passionate and why I speak on issues very publicly, purely because of the regret and shame, embarrassment of my previous actions, but also because I feel like I want to do good. And this is something that I'm was dealing with privately for the last 4 to 5 years in therapy. I'm not honestly into this. It was just purely for the money that I would receive, which I then used to remove myself from dangerous environments and then, begin to afford therapy and then begin the healing process that I really needed. But irrespective of whether I'm into this or not, it does not change the fact that I am absolutely responsible for my actions. It does not change the fact that I am absolutely responsible for how it's made every single person feel, especially for those who are not into kinks like race play. And instead, unintentionally, I spoke about my childhood and what I went through for a cry for help. It was just, it kind of blurted out. But what it did is that not only did it weaponize my trauma, not only did I not take responsibility at the time, but for every single person who came onto that video, I had let every single one of you down. Every single one of you down. Especially for those of you who are my subscribers, especially those for you who've been watching me since the Blue Room or watching me, since university. For every single one of you who came to that video, I had let every single one of you down. I was not in the right state of mind and frame. It was below par, and it was honestly pathetic, to be honest with you. There are no ifs, no buts, no excuses, and no trauma excuses especially. And me even saying I am responsible, in all honesty, I feel is not enough, because actions are not only powerful than words, but actions should also follow words as well. There are a few other things I want to outline. Some people, saying that I'm faking my heritage or pretending to be Arab to entice others. I am Pakistani and I'm very proud of that, but also I'm from Aden, Yemen, the south of Yemen, one of the oldest Arab countries in the world. A few other things I want to outline are these captions, and whilst it is extremely difficult to believe that these captions are not me, purely because I engaged in video related, race play related content, it is frustrating because I did not write any of that stuff. And I had a website purely for the money that I would earn, and this stuff was written in detail on blog sites, which I wouldn't need to do because I couldn't earn money from writing on blog sites. But also interracial and racialized related content especially is taken and used as fantasy literature for people who are really into it, hence they will write a lot of detailed related stuff. I have a lot of learning to do, a lot of processing, a lot of healing to do as well, especially with what's happened over the last 2 months, and especially just discussing it and just really just healing from everything. And I profusely apologize for how these words have affected people, the confusion, the lack of understanding, the lack of transparency from me, the lack of communication from me at the time when everybody needed it, the hurt, the what the F, the are you genuine, what is going on, who even are you, we can't even process this, what is going on. I absolutely apologize. There are no excuses. This is not my return to YouTube. I just wanted to clarify this, and I felt like everybody deserved it initially, and I did not do that, and I let every single one of you down.